thing.
How is this still a thing? Name any other country. I challenge you, in the comments down below, write any other country that has an actual democratic system that functions this way. How is it even possible? A government shutdown. It's completely ridiculous. The way it works is they have essential and non-essential elements. The essential stuff is stuff like military, FBI, social security, you know, important stuff. And the non-essential stuff is stuff like museums, national parks.
Hey, Mom! Look at the bear! Look at the bear! Look at the bear!
IPOs, like initial public offerings. If you have a company, you can't go public during this period because the government is shut down. It's completely insane that this is the system itself. And the government loses $1 billion a day when it's not active like this. It's ridiculous. And there's not even a plan. All of the individual departments can do whatever they want. They can kind of create their own way of running things. Take the passport industry, for instance. When you land in this country now, it's gonna be okay for a couple of days because of all the fees that people pay when they come through customs. They can't live without government funding for a couple of days, but after that, it's gonna be a tight ship. Like, just expect to be waiting for a very, very, very long time. It's completely ridiculous to have a country that runs this way. It just doesn't seem plausible. But this is not even what we really wanted to talk about today. I just had to put it in here because it baffles me. How is this not changed? What I really want to talk about today, though, is this.
Look, folks, before we go too far, I've got something to tell you.
Excuse me, but I've got something to tell you first. Thank you for ruining my life!
Ashley!
What did you do?
Everybody's always blaming me for everything.
Where'd you get your bond?
The Federal Reserve has cut its key interest rate to the lowest level on record.
Biggest interest rate
The
cuts in
federal funds
history.
rate, the interest that banks
Crisis will happen.
The biggest fiscal stimulus we have ever seen.
And that'll solve the problem.
We're in the midst of a serious financial crisis, and the federal government is responding with decisive action.
This is the story of the greatest financial crisis of our time, the one that is on its way.
They spent hundreds of billions of dollars to show that they were doing something, but not properly designed and not as effective as it should have been.
When they start losing money, hey, we got to get back in the game. Hey, let's create another bubble.
Well, the problem is they never actually cure the crisis, right? They just give alcohol to a drunk. It just, sets them up for, a bigger hangover. And that's all we've done. And that's all we're trying to do. And so I know at some point you kill the patient.
I haven't seen anything like this probably since just before the last crisis, 2006, 2007. Everybody was optimistic on the market then. Now they're on again, singing the same old song. But it's the same problems now that they ignored back then, only much, much bigger. The difference being, it's not going to end with just another financial crisis. It is going to end with the dollar crisis.
You are a world-renowned forecaster. People watch what you say. You've been doing it since 1980, and you are the publisher and editor of the Trends journals. But Gerald, I'd like to start off today with the issue of the economy. Are we in a very, very rosy economy right now with no worries like Wall Street would have us believe in some of the reports?
Well, Wall Street isn't the economy. It's the very separate part of what this real economy is. You have three people in the United States, Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, and Bill Gates, that have more money than 60% of us combined. Then when you look at the equity markets, 90% of the equity markets are owned by 10% of the population. The rest, at 10%, owned by, the so-called middle class. So when you look at the equity markets and look at the real economy, it's two very different worlds. Median household income is below 1999 levels. People complain, and you keep hearing it, this is a failure of capitalism. This isn't capitalism. In capitalism, there's no such thing as too big to fail. That's called fascism, the merger of state and corporate powers. And that's what we have right now. So people keep asking me, is the stock market a bubble? Well, of course it is, but they keep inflating the bubble. And the bubble is going back again. They're letting them repatriate the multinationals, all this overseas money. And now what are they going to do with it? Well, go back to when George Bush did that back in 2004. 96% of the money went into stock buybacks. And that's what you're seeing now. You didn't have to lower the tax rates for corporations from 35 to 21%, because look at the equity markets and look at the corporate income levels. They're very high. They're doing very well. We didn't need to boost them because they're not putting that money into capital expenditures. They're not putting it into research, development, and growth. They're putting it into stock buybacks. That's why the markets keep going up. Look at the wage levels. What are you looking at? 2.5% increase a year? That doesn't even keep up with inflation. So, no, for the average person, life is getting more difficult. Look at the debt level of credit cards. It's at an all-time high.
The Fed can, to a degree, control the interest rates for a long time. But what happens when people overseas won't buy our dollar or they reject the dollar? Isn't there a time where interest rates may become overwhelming, where just the Fed saying, well, we have to have low interest rates, where they actually lose it and they can't keep the interest rates low?
Yes, it's going to happen at some point. But again, when you look at how much they've raised interest rates, even if they raise them another 3 or 4 times this year, and now some people are saying 4 times, accounting for inflation, you're still at very, very low historic interest rates. So yes, this is the beginning of the end, but there's a stretch in it. So we don't see it collapsing right now. At best, at worst, we should say, we see about a 10% market correction because it's gone up so quick.
Tony Robbins, welcome back to Good Day New York.
Good to see you guys again.
I think a lot of us worry. You know, we have our money in the market.
Yeah.
What happens, like right now, I mean, the market's doing really well.
Yes.
Do we take our money out now?
That's why I wrote this book. I wrote this book because I wanted to protect people, because a crash is coming. Now, whether it's 6 months from now, 12 months, 36 months, no one knows. Warren Buffett said, if you listen to market forecasters, their only purpose is to make, people that tell fortunes look good. So here's a couple things you should know. Number one, there's a new high on average every month. Most people have no clue. So you hear, oh, it broke records, it broke records. We're in a situation right now that's very artificial. It's a situation where the feds around the world have been printing money. So nobody knows what's going to happen. There's this tremendous fear that's in the marketplace. So what I wanted to show people was, look, when the crash comes, first of all, a correction comes every year. The average one is 2 months long and it costs you 14% if you sell. But if you don't sell, you're fine. There's a bear market about every 5 years. We've gone 8 years without one. That's why I wrote this book, because I want to show you how to protect yourself when that bear comes, but more importantly, how to take advantage of it, because it is the greatest opportunity in your life. What you need to know is that every bear market that's ever come, they average a year. They usually cost 33%, but if you don't sell, they don't cost you anything. And in 2 centuries of American history, please hear me if you're listening at home, in 2 centuries, every single bear market was followed by a bull market. Everyone remembers 2008, oh my God, the market dropped 35, 40, 50% at peak to trough. It went up 69% the next 12 months. What? And here's one more thing. You think about timing. Like right now you're saying, should I get out of the market?
Yeah, right.
So let me answer that. Charles Schwab and JP Morgan did a 20-year study. They said in the last 20 years, the S&P 500, the market, the index, it's gone up 8.2% per year, which means you're doubling your money, like every 9 years. You're doing pretty damn well. But here's the challenge. If in 20 years you were out of the market on the 10 best trading days, in 20 years, then your value went from 8% to 4.5, cut it in half. If you miss the top 30 days in 20 years, 1.5 days, you lose money.
So keep your
The most dangerous thing is not to be in the market.
Right.
And it isn't just the market, right? You need a series of investments to diversify. Nobody should put all their money in the market. Well, Schwab did a study. They found, what if you bought on the perfect day of the year, when the market crashed and you bought that day, the lowest level? Or what if you bought on the worst day, the peak of the market, and it crashes the next day? Or you go in cash, which is what so many people are doing because they're afraid. Who lost? Cash by 50%. They had 50% less money. Cash is going nowhere. Who won? The person who was there on the ideal day. But the person who got on the worst day after 15 years was only behind $10,000.
As interest rates rise and the steroids wear off, will it be the Chinese economy overheating? Or will it be a collapse of confidence in the US dollar?
If we lose the confidence of our foreign lenders, then there will be a dramatic decline in the dollar, a dramatic increase in interest rates, significant fueling of inflation, a very, very deep recession and possibly depression that would be felt around the world. We must not allow that to happen.
When the next bubble bursts, you cannot use the same emergency measures. You can't lower interest rates that are already at rock bottom. You can't stimulate the economy with borrowed money if an excessive national debt is the cause of the crisis. The governments could save the banks, but who can save the governments?
Ultimately, there's going to be a price all around the world to be paid for this. And the longer it continues, the bigger that price is going to be.
You know, this really is a moral question.
When we tell people that there's going to be a bailout bubble, and they see the world equity markets up 50, 60%, they don't want to believe that it's another bubble. They want to step right up back to that table and throw their dice and try to win their hand at the wheel of fortune that Wall Street's spinning. So people still don't want to believe that the worst is yet to come.
It really doesn't look good, does it? Will there be a crisis in 2018? Some people actually say there will. It baffled me when I first heard of it, and it's really scary. But if you think about the numbers, the amount of money being pumped out and the interest rates being so low, I mean, people are talking about negative interest rates. That's how serious the situation is. It really scares me. And just, this is way too late. Like, this is like the ending of the video. But go crazy in the comments. I really want to hear you guys' opinion on this. If you have a lot of money in housing, then try and consider that and remember that you're biased. Because we all are biased in some sense or way. But we still need to talk about this. It's huge. We don't know what's going to happen. No one does. But if there's a crisis in 2018, is it an opportunity? Is it terrible? Is it our own fault? I leave that question up to you guys. Let me know in the comments down below. I really hope you like this documentary. I've put a lot of work into it. I have a great one coming out next week as well about artificial intelligence. So we're at Stanford right now. Our first class starts here. I'm gonna try and talk to the teacher afterwards. We have some really optimistic statements from Elon Musk, and I just wanted to hear your realistic perspective. Like, do you think that's even possible?
Well, the main thing is getting the LiDAR and the vision. There's a debate whether you need.
I really think you're gonna like it. So if you're new, subscribe to the channel. I do put so much work into these. You have no idea how long time they take to make. But I enjoy making them, and I'm definitely gonna keep doing it. So subscribe if you're new. All of my social media are gonna show up, and yeah, you know where to find me now. See you guys next week. Take care. I have to do it again.